The Andy Pollin Show.
We got to go after this with everything we got, thinking they're going to come with everything they got.
I'll start off by saying I'm bored, I'm broke, and I'm back.
The Andy Pollin Show on ESPN 630 starts right now.
The greatest event in sports is going on right now in Los Angeles. And through short-sighted greed, the people that run the sport are allowing it to be buried. We got a Rocky Balboa story going right now, and it is absolutely riveting what's happening in the World Series. Maybe the game last night wasn't a 6-2 game, not riveting, but the storyline of this series is incredible. And the NHL had everybody playing last night. The NBA had a slate of games. There is going to be football, thankfully, not until tomorrow night, so we get to watch Game 5 tonight of the World Series. But man, oh man, oh man, what used to be the biggest event in sports and is living up to the hype that it used to get is not being noticed because it's buried under an avalanche of other things. And the short-sightedness of having to have these games in prime time on TV, especially at this time of year where there's so much competition, including Monday Night Football. You got Patrick Mahomes going up against the greatest World Series game we've seen maybe in decades, maybe ever. And then we had, the NBA and the NHL jumping on last night. There was a time, believe it or not, when football would get out of the way for the World Series. Not if it went 7, but the way they scheduled it, it was usually, I think, Game 3, maybe 4, would be a Sunday night game. And the NFL would go, okay, you can have that. That week we won't schedule a Sunday night game. Not now. No. They schedule right up against baseball because they know they're going to crush it. And there's a lot of reasons for it. Baseball was slow to embrace change. The pitch clock has changed a lot of things. Now you could say, well, the game went 6 hours and 39 minutes the other night. How much did it save? But, realistically, well, just look at it this way. The previous 18-inning game World Series and 18-inning World Series game was, I think, 7 hours and 20 minutes. So it was 40 minutes longer. But it was a long time. But think about this, and I was considering this yesterday, and I didn't get a chance to get to it because there was so much yak about the Commanders. But back in the day, they used to have World Series games in the afternoon, and I know that's an old, quaint notion. I know you can't do that anymore. One of my favorite baseball photos is the Bill Mazeroski home run for the Pittsburgh Pirates in 1960 to beat the Yankees in Game 7, the walk-off home run, the only walk-off in Game 7. The Joe Carter was in Game 6. And the clock that's in center field says 3:35. The game started at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and it ended at 3:35. It was a 10-9 game with multiple pitching changes and no pitch clock. And they got that game in 2 hours and 35 minutes. I know they can't start games at 1 o'clock. You've got the Dodgers playing, so you can't start them at 10 o'clock in the morning. But consider this for what we had the other night, this classic game, that had they started it at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, which would have been noon on the West Coast, 3 o'clock here, but, more and more people are working from home. You have the option from working at home. And on top of that, even if you're at your desk, you can watch on your phone or your laptop. There's ability now to see the game. And just think about this. If this game had started at 3 o'clock and ended at, a little bit before 10, if it goes, 6 hours and 49 minutes, the momentum that it would have picked up throughout the day, that people would have been texting or calling their friends and saying, hey, you got to see what's going on here. And it would have built and built and built. As it is, there may be people who said, oh, yeah, I was there to see the Freddie Freeman home run. I was watching. Some were, and I'm sure that the television ratings will show that the people who were up at that time of night, it was even late in the West Coast. It was almost midnight there, that some people were watching. But by and large, most people saw it on highlights the next day, as I did. And I think that had it started at 3 in the afternoon and played out like that, it really would have been kind of this is an odd analogy, but work with me here. this would almost be like the O.J. chase in a much more pristine thing, But that's what O.J. was. O.J. went on and on and on. It started later, but it started, around 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, and it engulfed the NBA Finals, and that's all anybody was watching that night. This is not in any way like that story, but I'm talking about the momentum that it would have picked up, and baseball would have benefited so much more from that. I know that there's more money in primetime baseball, but, the baseball that I grew up with as a kid, the World Series excitement, the sneaking the transistor radio into the classroom and running the little earphone up your sleeve so you could listen in class, and sometimes there'd be a really cool teacher who would roll in a TV set from the AV department so you could watch it. And that's gone. And I think this was really a missed opportunity for baseball. Maybe the bottom line is going to be better. Maybe that the money that they get from the series being all in prime time, every game starts at 8 o'clock. Maybe that's maybe something that is more beneficial. But, man, I just think of how great it would have been to have seen that game pick up that kind of momentum. And then people who were watching ESPN and watching the Commanders as the game got more and more bleh in the second half might have been tuning over and going, whoa, look at this. Look at what's going on here in baseball. All right, so they did go 18 innings. The Blue Jays lost on the walk-off by Freddie Freeman. And the natural inclination is to go, well, God, I mean, think of the air going out of the balloon for the Toronto Blue Jays, how deflated they must feel about this. And they've got to turn around in just a few hours. And, oh, by the way, who are they going to be facing on the mound? Shohei Ohtani, who's not human. They had to walk him 5 times after he torched them with 2 homers and 2 doubles. And we'd seen him pitch at Dodger Stadium all year where he was unhittable. His ERA was like 1.6 something. And it seemed like an impossible task. But John Schneider said this is the manager of the Blue Jays, said this after the 18-inning affair the other night.
Not at all. Not at all. This group is going to be ready to play tomorrow. You know what I mean? It's longest game in World Series history, whatever it is, tied for it. I mean, these guys are enjoying it. They were in the right mindset and the right headspace the entire time. You know what I mean? It sucks that it's late right now. We got to come back and do it again tomorrow, but these guys are going to be more than ready. You know what I mean? The Dodgers didn't win the World Series today. They won a game. You know what I mean? And these guys are going to be ready to go tomorrow.
And they were. It turned out that they were ready to go. They win the game 6-2, and they prove that Shohei's great, but he's actually a human being, and he actually was tired, and they got to him. And he even struck out a couple of times. He didn't get the automatic walk every time he pitched. And this is one of the great post-game quotes I have ever seen. I was looking for the audio of it. I couldn't find it. But it is Blue Jays third baseman Ernie Clement who said, "I think this is a quote from Herb Brooks, but we are a team of uncommon men. I think a normal team would have folded today, and we're not normal. I think we're the best team in baseball, and we got out of bed today with our hair on fire and ready to play." This is what he's referring to. This was from the movie Miracle with Kurt Russell, who should have won the Academy Award, playing Herb Brooks as he is putting his team through those suicide drills. They were lackluster in a game, and he said, "We got to get this team on track." And this is where he's trying to get them to say, "I play for the USA." It's one of the great scenes of the movie, but the quote that Clement is referring to is this.
This cannot be a team of common men, because common men go nowhere. You have to be uncommon.
And they are uncommon men because they're doing something that you would not have expected in any way. This is really a monumental series that's shaping up here because you have the Rocky story. You have the Dodgers, their Apollo Creed. They have the superstar, the almost non-human man who's got a $700 million contract, who does what nobody has done since Babe Ruth, and he's doing it better than Babe Ruth. He's pitching, he's hitting, he steals bases. He is the best player in baseball, and he's doing it on the biggest stage. And they took his punch. They took his big punch, and they lost. They got knocked to the canvas, but now they're back off the canvas. And the series is tied at 2-2. And Blake Snell, who lost game one, is back on the mound for the Dodgers tonight. Trey Savage, one of those Rocky type of stories, a guy who had not pitched very much and got the World Series game number one start, now is going to try and give his team a lead as they go back to Toronto with a chance to wrap it up. If the Blue Jays win tonight, they got two chances at home to win the series. As for Shohei, yes, he proved he was human, and we watched him on base 9 times. Yeah, it's DH. He wasn't in the field, but it was a long night. And he told his manager that he was cramping up. And to see him come out last night where you're expecting, okay, this is where he blows away the Blue Jays. This is where the Dodgers take command. The Blue Jays have been knocked to the canvas despite their manager's locker room talk. Come on, guys, we're going to come back and take this, back to Toronto and give us our best shot, blah, 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 blah. No, Shohei was human and admitted so.
Slept at 2 a.m., felt pretty good about, being able to have quality sleep. And yeah.
And then you felt about the same as you normally do during a start?
そうですね。はい。体調というかそれなりの体調ではマウンドには行くことができたので、はい。
Yes, I was able to get on the mound in pretty good condition.
But he was not himself. Clearly, his velocity was down. He was not the Vlad Guerrero the Shohei Ohtani who had been totally dominating throughout the regular season. And this was the Fox crew. After the game, it's Kevin Burkhardt and A-Rod and Jeter and David Ortiz, and they bring on Vlad Guerrero, who had the swinging hit of the game. I don't think it was the hit that won the game, but it was a 2-run homer in the third inning, and his numbers are incredible in the postseason. He's got 7 postseason home runs, and they're all this year. He has been that good. It's possible if the Blue Jays win the series, he'll be the series MVP. And this was their post-game wrap-up after the Blue Jays won at 6-2.
We talked about Toronto. How would they bounce back from, as you called it, the uppercut that they absorbed last night? That was about as good as a response as you could possibly have.
In all my years, it's one of the most amazing recoveries in less than 24 hours for this team. Look, we've been saying it all along. Anytime that you bet against this team, they prove you wrong. And tonight, Shane Bieber was fantastic, pitched beautifully, great sequencing, great command the whole night. 7 different Blue Jays got hits. Their best player, Vladimir Guerrero, with a home run and errorless ball. And
here he comes.
Oh, Vlad Jr. is walking on over. He's going to hang with us after a big 2-run home run, was on base multiple times, doing his thing, couple hits, 2 RBIs, and he gets the Blue Jays back in this World Series, all tied at 2. Vlad, great to see you. How did you do it? How did you yourself and your teammates kind of rebound after last night and get ready to play here today?
I mean, yesterday was a tough lose, but we flushed it right away, and to us, it's one game at a time, one pitch at a time, and thank God we're coming with a W today.
Vlad, now, you guys have been the best team in baseball coming back. Every time people think that you're finished, you always fight back. Where does that mentality come from, and how much confidence did you guys have coming to the park this morning? I mean,
it's a 27 now, 27 now, we grinder, we always positive. The first thing I say yesterday is like, I flush it, try to rest, and tomorrow we're trying to come to the first inning and trying to win the game, and I learned that from a lot of you guys. And when you got that and you mind, it's not over yet, something like today happens.
Black, they were interviewing Dave Roberts. First of all, congratulations, big boy.
Thank you.
They were interviewing Dave Roberts right after you hit the home run. And he basically said he wouldn't and sit on that pitch. Take me through that at bat against, especially against Ohtani, who had that 98 miles an hour fastball in the back pocket.
I mean, and that about just when I made my fastball, that was a good swing, you know. And when I hit that foul ball, I say he's not gonna throw me the fastball again. So I put my mind soft, and that's a good pitch.
He hanging, we banging.
Yeah.
Vlad, congrats. What an amazing game, and one of the most amazing recoveries in less than 24 hours to come back. It shows the grit and the character that you've shown all year. My question, I want to build off of what Poppy just asked. You know, both teams are almost sleepwalking because you can tell there's fatigue, right? Did you feel that you were the guy that had to step up in that big moment with that shot to get your team going? And how good did it feel when you saw that ball go over the fence?
I mean, like I said, I just try to help the team to win. You know, I not put pressure on myself. You know, I just try to get a good pitch to him, and he gave me that pitch, and I hit it out.
You're hanging your
Vlad, how much juice did Bieber give you tonight? I mean, when you really needed it, he was as good as he's been since you got him at the trade deadline.
He's one of the best, man. He's an amazing human being, an amazing player. He's always told us before the game, I believe in you. I believe in you, you know, and when you got pitcher like that, told you he believe in us, and you got to be give it 100% and give it the heart, and that two line.
Yep. So they move on to Game 5 tonight, all tied at 2, and it didn't look like that was going to be possible in the early morning hours of yesterday. Tom Verducci, SI.com, the lead of his column today after last night's game. Like a Battle of Gettysburg reenactment, the visiting clubhouse of Dodger Stadium in the first hour of Tuesday morning reeked of equal parts loss, pride, and discarded bandages. That's a very good lead. And as he points out, I mean, what they did seemed impossible. He said they had no business winning Game 4, at least if you buy into the narratives. What with Jays DH George Springer, an all-time World Series slugger, out with an oblique injury suffered in Game 3, I would imagine he's not going to play the rest of the series. And the Dodgers giving the ball to Shohei Ohtani, who is unbeaten with a 1.33 ERA at Dodger Stadium in his career. The Blue Jays did not care, and they won the game 6-2. And he talks about the Vlad Guerrero home run being kind of a game changer there, but the 4 runs that they scored in the 7th inning was, really what put it out of reach. He said Ohtani gave a brave effort after exhausting himself in Game 3 with body cramps so bad that manager Dave Roberts visited him at second base in the 11th to see if he needed to come out of the game to prepare for a Game 4 start. "How you feeling?" Roberts asked him. "Cramps," Ohtani said. "Give me a run. Let's see what you can do. Can you score from second base?" Ohtani gave a brief jog. He flashed thumbs up to Roberts. "That's all I needed to hear," Roberts said. Thing is, he was dealing with cramps all night. The night exacted its toll. Ohtani did not have his best top-line fastball. His velocity was down a tick, and then down another tick in the 7th when the Jays peppered 2 of his heaters for hits to start the 4-run fast break. And he concludes it with a quote from Max Scherzer. And Max Scherzer is certainly past his prime, and it's so long ago you probably don't remember, but he was the starter in Game 3 for the Blue Jays. But if you do remember 6 years ago, you talk about what he did for the Nationals, it's even greater than what we're seeing now from his new team, the Blue Jays, in that he was the scheduled starter in Game 6 at home, Nationals with a chance to close out the series at that point. They didn't win a home game the entire series. All the wins were on the road. And Max couldn't go, so didn't look great for Game 7. He had a neck injury where he could barely move his neck. His wife had to drive him to the ballpark because he couldn't even drive. He goes with the team to Houston. He starts Game 7, and on guts and guile, he goes long enough to get the victory as the Nationals win the World Series. And this is what he says about his team and the win last night. He said, "The way we played tonight is a result of how we just play ball all year. We've had our backs against the wall the whole year. You can probably go around the whole room at some point, and everybody's had their backs against the wall, and we've come back, and we found a way to get outs again or get hits again." He said, "We find a way to win ball games. This kind of speaks of our season. Yes, we were disappointed after Game 3, but we knew if we put our hearts into that game, what we saw from everybody in this clubhouse just gave us reason to even believe in even more." And, he's been there, done that. We've seen that from Max, and, maybe he's going to give them some more big innings in these next 2 or possibly 3 games. But, You know, it's too bad that it's gotten buried by other sports. And I think, at least from my standpoint, from somebody who has a difficulty staying up past 10 o'clock at night, I just would wonder if this were afternoon baseball and if it spilled into the night like it would have the other night, just how much more this would have been on the landscape. And I'll say this about Ohtani, and I said this for years when he was with the Angels. Man, do you realize what's going on here? And nobody's noticing because he plays for a team that doesn't make the playoffs and plays his games on the West Coast late at night. But now that he gets on the big stage here, what we're seeing, we saw it last year too, he didn't pitch, but what we're seeing from him now in this postseason, people are noticing. I think they would notice more if they were afternoon games. Just me, because they'd have it all to themselves. Instead, you're sharing it with other sports, and it's I think it's a difficult thing to take center stage. All right, coming up, we got more from the Commanders, Dan Quinn, on how they get ready to play Seattle, and the hope is Jaden Daniels is back on the field. It's the Andy Pollin Show, ESPN 630. Would Nick Saban, at the age of 74, which he turns on Friday, go back to LSU? No, you say. He retired as the greatest coach of all time. And it's Alabama that he left. It would be like Tom Landry coaching the Redskins, Joe Gibbs coaching the Cowboys. You can't imagine that, can you? Well, everyone has his price. And what would the price be for Nick Saban? We'll get into that a little bit later on. Paul Feinbaum with some thoughts on that yesterday on the Rich Eisen Show. Commanders getting ready to play against Seattle on Sunday night. Is it a code red game, as Jay Gruden once called important games? No, but this is a stretch where it's getting to be code red-ish. Let's put it that way. They've got Seattle coming here. They've got Detroit coming here. And they've got Miami on the road in Barcelona. Neutral site. Anything can happen. Miami basically stinks, although they played a lot better this past weekend. But it's getting late early, as they say. And with a record now of 3-5 and with 3 straight losses, they've got to get back on track. Now, in the NFL, it's never over till it's over. And we were talking about the Cincinnati Bengals in the last couple of – in fact, the Bengals had a chance to make the playoffs in the final week of the season. You always get down to that point if you're in a spot like they were, where you got to hope other teams do certain things, certain games turn out the way they do, and everything adds up, and you sneak in. They're not at that spot yet, but it's a bad place to be in, and they've got to find a way, I think, to win at least one of the next 2, and then beat the Dolphins, and then after the bye, beat a Denver team that seems to be getting better and better, but Denver will be coming here, so maybe that will make a difference. They've still got 2 games against Philadelphia, which may not be the worst thing in the world because it's quite possible in the final game of the season that Philly won't have anything to play for, and they may be resting all of their starters, and that may be their chance to slip into the playoffs. But it's a whole different outlook at midseason this year than it was last year. Plus, here's something else. Next week, we've got the trade deadline, November 4th. And whereas last year they went for Marshawn Lattimore, and you went, oh, okay, they're going for it. Things have gone a lot better with Jaden Daniels than could have been expected. And, maybe they're not a Super Bowl team this year, but they're building in that direction. And Lattimore's got years left on his contract. And when you have a rookie quarterback who's playing that well and playing on a rookie deal, which will take you comfortably into the next 2 seasons with a reasonable salary, you go for it. And, Lattimore has not worked out. He did have a pick the other night, but by and large, that's been a disaster. And I think what happens on Sunday night may have some bearing as to what they do, because do you make a trade at 4-5 versus 3-6? I don't know. You might. See what's out there on the market. Adam Peters, I think, has done a good job. Yeah, he swung and missed a few times. And probably didn't load up on free agency as much as he should have in the offseason if you look at the depth problems they're having right now because of injury. But things can change. It's a week-to-week league, and one win can change your outlook on a whole lot of different things. far as the overall outlook, and we saw what Dan Quinn said the other night after losing in Kansas City about missed opportunities. He got very angry, as he should have, in the Dallas loss, where particularly at the end of the first half where they gave up that touchdown after scoring one themselves, and that sort of changed the game completely. So yesterday he was asked the M question, the question about his team with a 3-game losing streak and morale.
I think optimism is probably, maybe the better word than morale. And I wanted to find improvement. I wanted to find momentum, in spaces that could we create that. I felt there's some in some spots, Scott, like, I felt on the defensive side in the early parts of creating some takeaways. I felt that's the momentum that we're looking for. When you've been in these spots, man, you dig in together, and that's what you have to do. So I would say the optimism to know these are the things that we're going to work on to get better at. And if we do those, we know what the results will look like. So everybody's frustrated, obviously disappointed. Those are like natural reactions. I think the more important thing, Scott, is what are you going to do about it? And that's the work. And I saw that. I liked what last week's practice was like. We did a lot more good on good, and we'll continue to make those tweaks and adjustments as we need to. I know this is a short week, so it may not be as much, but I think I said a week or so ago, over the next 4 weeks, those are going to be some markers that I'm looking to see us improve upon. But you dig in, man, and you do it together. This is a good group of guys. So, like, that part, they're mad, upset, like all those emotions you would think. But, man, you also got to, like, go out on the field. And you got to put the work in, and what's the specific thing like this has to happen.
And I was reading some of the post-game quotes last night. I think Zach Ertz said the clock is ticking. Can you kind of explain that from your perspective of nearing the halfway point of the regular season of like, hey, you got to get some urgency, you got to get some wins now because you don't want to get too big of a hole right now. Yeah,
I think what he's saying, like, a lot of NFC games be played, but, man, you have to take advantage of it, Scott. That is absolutely where it is. And so that leads us right into this week, in terms of a matchup to go get it. But clock ticking, urgency, all the same. I would agree with him, and his teammates do too. So, but like I said, it's a good group. We want to get it right, and when you miss the mark, that's when it's hardest. But collectively, man, we got to nail it collectively.
Yeah, well, one thing they got to get right is the running game, and the running game is going in the wrong direction right now. First 5 games, they averaged 5.9 yards a rush, almost 6 yards a carry. In the last 3 games, all losses, they've averaged 3.4 yards. Now, they've had to come from behind, trying to come from behind big in Dallas. They did have, though, the lead against the Bears and should have won that game. Without the fumble, Jaden Daniels said it was his fault. I wonder how much, Bill Krosky-Merritt played into that. He hasn't played very much, and we're seeing diminishing returns on him. I'm not saying the carriage has turned into a pumpkin, but the first few weeks of the season, oh, my God, look what they found. A guy who was at Arizona, was only eligible to play 1 game last year, was on the practice squad. They got him in the 7th round, and man, oh, man, oh, man, oh, man. And I bought into it, too. I thought that was tremendous what they had found in this guy. He was their number 1 back and maybe still is, but whereas he averaged, the last win they had, which was against the Raiders, I think it was 7.9 yards a carry. He averaged the last couple of weeks 2.9 yards a carry. That ain't going to get it done. And Quinn is, a guy who's a defensive guy, and when you have a defensive-minded coach, you always want a good running game to complement the defense and keep it off the field. And now he's got a run problem. Yeah, we certainly need to get it on track, in the best of ways. And I wish I had a better sense to say which ones. We've got a good package, but it has to be, the runs and the play passes. Those have to really be in concert together. We hit a couple of play passes yesterday, which was nice for us to do. Terry had one inside, but we've got to find our ways, even to stick with it some when, there are hard runs to go and one goes for 1 or 0. It can be frustrating, but you just dig and you keep banging for it, and you stay into that spot, and that's what we'll work to do because it has to be a bigger part of our game. Yeah, this is why the Austin Eckler loss for the year with the Achilles is such a big deal, because he's a veteran, and the things that they're asking Krosky-Merritt to do are not really things he can do. He's not a great receiver. He's not a great pass blocker, and it's created problems. Now, the big thing is 5. And do they have Jaden Daniels back on the field? With all the hand-wringing that we did in the opening game against Tampa when he ran 16 times, and, this guy's going to get killed. He didn't miss a start last year. Missed some time, got knocked out of the Carolina game with a broken rib, which he was playing with and we didn't even know about, but he threw the Hail Mary with the broken rib and managed to make every start last year. He's now missed 3, and if he misses this week, that'll be 4. And the optimism to get him back, well, it's hard. It's hard to say because we've heard, in previous weeks, especially with Terry, he's getting close. No, he's not. And we don't even know about Terry. Quinn said on Monday night in Kansas City that he would have an update. Yesterday, he did not. We'll see if he's on the practice field today. Quinn did say this about Jaden. He said he had a good rehab session on Sunday. Team's back on the practice field tomorrow, meaning today, and we plan on him being a part of that. That doesn't mean full participant. That could be, on the sidelines just tossing passes. But at least there's a possibility that he practices because I think that's a huge difference. It helps everything. It helps the running game tremendously. He can run, but on top of that, it kind of freezes the defense what he's going to do. So the hope is he gets back. Mariota's been okay. He did throw 2 interceptions the other night. The second one was no big deal. The game was out of reach. But he would be making his 4th start. He's thrown for 639 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. He's an adequate backup. He's better than most have and can win games as he has this year, as he did beating the Raiders. But he's not Jaden Daniels. And the key to this team getting back to the playoffs is going to be Jaden Daniels and his health the rest of the year. And the other thing is he going to have weapons? And we don't know about Terry McLaurin. I mean, two of the biggest pieces on offense are question marks going into this game against Seattle. Terry McLaurin may have re-injured his quad, which means I wouldn't be surprised if he sits out the next 3 games because you have a bye after that and just, see where you are and hope that he can go against Denver. And then the left tackle that you got to make sure that the quarterback didn't get hurt, well, the quarterback's gotten hurt, was Laramie Tunsil, and Tunsil left the game the other night with a hamstring injury, and we don't know his status as well. And the way Quinn does things, not that it's like different than any other coach, but he'll say, I'll tell you tomorrow, and then the next day he says, I'm not sure yet, I'll have to tell you tomorrow. So we may or may not get an update on Terry McLaurin and Laramie Tunsil today. As far as run game goes, and this is more league-wide, but interesting occurrence going on with the Indianapolis Colts where Jonathan Taylor is having what would be considered an MVP type of year. That he has had 14 touchdowns. He's leading the league in rushing. The Colts are the biggest surprise team in the NFL. And although it's early, it's less than halfway through the season, but this is what you do with the NFL is you make predictions on MVP. And the last running back to be the MVP of the league was Adrian Peterson. And this was a remarkable story in 2012. He suffered a devastating knee injury on Christmas Eve of 2011. How do I know this? I was there to see it at FedEx Field with a few others as they were announcing sellouts in those days, but certainly not having them. And he was knocked out, of course, for the rest of that season, but managed to make it back for the start of the 2012 season and finished with over 2,000 yards rushing and is the last running back to win the MVP. He's gone through tough times lately, rested over the weekend, drunk in his car, according to police, carrying a weapon, a Glock that was in the glove compartment of his car. He's free on bond now, but in his day, he was the best running back in the league and was the last running back to win the MVP. Is Jonathan Taylor having a year that would make him a candidate to be the MVP in what is clearly a quarterback-driven league? Jeff Saturday, former center with the Indianapolis Colts, a regular on PTI, looking at his old team and a team wearing the uniform that he wore for many years. Could we see Jonathan Taylor actually win the MVP this year?
Yeah, well, first of all, I definitely think so. And I was of the thought last year, even with Saquon, like,
everybody's like, oh, these quarterbacks are having this great year. I'm like, Saquon didn't play a game and still, almost breaks the record. And so my whole thought is you're in a totally different air. That's where Jonathan Taylor is putting himself this year. Is he's in that different air, right? LaDainian Tomlinson touchdown record is a potential if he continues on this. And he has had an insane impact on the hottest team really in the NFL, being the Indianapolis Colts. He does have a very good offensive line. Steichen's done a really good job of coupling plays, making things look very similar, which opens up holes. But make no mistake, he is making plays as well. Once he gets past that line of scrimmage, he's making guys miss. He's using his speed. He's using his vision. He's setting up his blocks. They go hand in hand. This is not just he's being carried. This is a benefit for both offensive line and running back. He should clearly be in the MVP conversation, and we should stop making it a quarterback award only. I get they have more stuff to them. They always had more stuff. It's like, I don't understand anybody saying you don't think Tom Brady and Peyton Manning and Drew Brees, everybody, but Adrian Peterson has the year. He's the MVP. Let's stop taking it off the table for other players except for quarterbacks.
Another young running back who was having a different kind of impact early on, Cam Scatterbull. He had that gruesome injury, Jeff, and players, who've seen everything, it seems, needed to look away. When you were on the field and you had that kind of injury, how in the hell do you maintain focus? Or forget maintain, how do you get it back within a few minutes?
Oh, it's brutal. And look, when you guys get, knees dislocated, ankles dislocated, all the things like you saw with Scatterbull. And by the way, the impact he had in New York, man, is and that you're hoping comes back after this injury and gets back the energy, the effort. This guy, he's infectious, right? So it's not only what happened, it's who it's happening to because of how much impact he had on his teammates. But when you see something that gruesome, it is hard not to look away because not only are you seeing your friend in pain, you're seeing what could potentially happen to you, and you're trying to block it out of your mind as quickly as possible, knowing in 4 minutes, you're going to be doing this again. We understand the risk we put ourselves at, but when you visually see it, it definitely can play mind tricks on you. So you try to turn away, start talking to each other, kind of minimize how much is going on in your head until post-game. But the reality is, too, in practice, when guys get hurt, it's move the drill 20 yards and let's keep going. And so they've conditioned you, coaches and organizations, of injuries are part of the game. We got to continue to move on. And as unfortunate that is, it's just part of what we do in the NFL.
I will get you out of here on this. Steelers center Zach Frazier touched the ball because he thought the team was going to go into the hurry-up. And then he had to keep it there to avoid the penalty. As a center, what do you think of all that?
It's the worst. Here's the thing. We played so much no huddle in Indy, right? So I would go put my hand on the ball, and there'd be times I'd be down in my stance for, dang near 40 seconds, right? Because I got to the ball so quickly. And so now Peyton's making audibles. He's making adjustments. I'm trying to look, where's the safety? Where's the end? Where are the linebackers? And you got your hand on the ball, and they're very particular. So Frazier had to literally hold it. They walked back because, no one wants the call to be heard. Aaron's trying to kind of be a little covert. So you got to sit there and try to listen. And then when the guard comes up, hey, what's the play, right? I mean, that's literally how bad this thing is. I thought it was comical. I loved it. And it just shows some of the silliness, right, of the rules. I understand if we're trying to get you to jump off sides, but clearly that wasn't the intent here, that he couldn't get up and go walk in the huddle, just made it look like a spectacle. And I absolutely loved it because we shined in on a great center, and we give a tip of the cap today. My man Frazier, congrats. You got solo time on PTI, baby. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, Jeff Saturday, who was a great center in his day for Peyton Manning. I was a very bad high school center. I've probably told you this before, but just a little note on this. We didn't do this when I was on the varsity, but on JV we did this. And to this day, I'm not sure why. I guess it was such a simple form of the game at that point that to show guys where to line up, this is how it would work. The quarterback would say the play twice in the huddle. And it was not complicated. It was a series of numbers and maybe a couple of colors would tell you basically where the play was going and who you had to block. And it didn't take long to say it. But he would say it twice. The first time he would say it, I would leave the huddle, and then I would go over and place myself over the ball so that the other lineman would know where to line up next to me. That's how simplistic it was. And I just got to laugh looking at the NFL where the center thinks it's no huddle, and he puts his hand on the ball, and he can't take his hand off the ball because I guess that becomes, a false start? So he's got to stand there or sit there with his hand on the ball waiting for the play to be called in the huddle, and then he's got to find out from the quarterback what the play call is and what the snap count is. Football is so complicated at that level. Amazing. All right, coming up, we got Paul Farhi. Not Paul Farhi. He used to be a media critic with the Post. Paul Feinbaum on why these insane buyouts happen in college football. He's actually got a reasonable explanation on that. And Mike Loxley, a 21.5-point underdog against a program that he clobbered 2 years ago, the changing state of college football. It's the Andy Pollin Show, ESPN 630.
The Andy Pollin Show on ESPN 630, the sports capital.
I'm looking at this betting stuff in sports, not just professional sports, but college sports, and it mirrors what happened with the NCAA and paying players. For years. Oh, no. These are student athletes. They get a scholarship. We can't pay them. We don't have the money to pay them. We can't do that. Now you hear about like $8 million deals for quarterbacks, and everything's running wild. I mean, it's insane. And the transfer portal, which means you can jump from school to school. You can make several transfers. You got quarterbacks who are on their fourth school. That's not unusual, not just quarterbacks. You got players who are working through like 7 years of eligibility. Well, it's just nuts. And the same thing happened with gambling. Like, oh, no, we can't have gambling in professional sports. And now it's just run amok. It's just crazy. And we had the big scandal last week from the NBA. We'll see where that goes. But that's a big mess right now. And then the NCAA came up with this a few weeks ago before the betting scandal hit in the NBA and said, well, we got all these college athletes and we can't have them, bet on college games because that would be unseemly. We can't have, college football players picking point spreads and prop bets and things like that. But let's let them bet on professional sports. Why not? Why not let a 19-year-old kid with his phone go in really deep on some of these sites and get himself into like $100,000 in debt and get a payoff from that from a gambler who, he agrees to shave points or drop a pass or something like that. No, that seems like a good idea. Let's do that. Well, now that this gambling scandal has hit in the NBA, the NCAA has decided to delay this idea of letting their kids bet on professional sports. The Division I board voted yesterday to delay the effective date of the sports betting legislative change, moving it from November 1st to November 22nd. So they're buying themselves like 3 weeks on this. A rarely used rule allows 30 days for each Division I school to vote to rescind a proposal if it is adopted by less than 75% of the Division I cabinet. The original vote was to approve betting, and that was under the threshold earlier this month. Greg Sankey, who's the SEC commissioner, and for all intents and purposes might as well be running the NCAA such as it is. He's the king of college football with the SEC, obviously. He sent a note to NCAA President Charlie Baker, the latest empty suit to have that job, expressing concerns about the rule change. Even if the rule on betting on professional sports changes, that does not change the NCAA rule, which forbids athletes from betting on college sports. Well, good. That's pretty good. The NCAA also prohibits sharing information about college competitions with bettors. Yeah, good luck with that, because what did we see in this alleged betting scandal? That Chauncey Billups, who's also being implicated in these card games run by the mafia, these rigged card games, that he may have passed along some information to a bettor that essentially Portland was going into tank mode so that they could get Victor Wembanyama. So on and on we go with that. Meantime, Maryland gets ready to play Indiana on Saturday. What I'm thinking is I've got a Maryland sweatshirt and I've got an Indiana long sleeve T-shirt. And I have probably more allegiance to Indiana since I paid for a 4-year college tuition there. I didn't go to Maryland. I've been watching Maryland sports for years. I'm a fan of Maryland sports, and I've been rooting for them all season long as I am now a season ticket holder. But we're going to go to the game on Saturday, and I'm thinking about wearing the Indiana long-sleeve T-shirt under my Maryland sweatshirt. And so if it gets out of hand, I'll just take off the Maryland sweatshirt, and I'll have my Indiana shirt on. I think that's probably the way to go. Maryland is a 21.5-point underdog in this game. They have lost 3 in a row. And times change quickly because just 2 years ago, 2023, Maryland and Indiana met. Maryland won 44-17 to get to 5-0. Season kind of collapsed from there as it's collapsing now after the win against a very bad Wisconsin team. And 2 months later, the coach was fired after he had fired the offensive coordinator after that debacle against Maryland. And Kurt Cignetti got hired after that season, 2023, and now he's got the number 2 team in the country. And Maryland is a 21.5-point underdog, leading Gene Wong of the Washington Post to ask this question of Coach Mike Locksley yesterday.
How much kind of stock do you put in like a shock the world mentality? Is that even necessary given the quality of the opponent?
No, we as we said earlier, and this is no disrespect to Indiana, but our opponent, much like what they do, is the biggest opponent we're going to face is ourselves. And I think when you look at the way the last 3 games have gone, it's been a lot more us than it has been the opponent. And those are the things that, that's why I feel pretty good about going into it, because these are things that can be corrected, that we need to get corrected, and we'll get it corrected this week.
Well, met the enemy. He is ourselves, or he is us. Yeah, Maryland is not really in the league of Indiana from what I've seen. And if you're looking at that 21.5, if you've watched Indiana this year, they don't take their foot off the gas. So this could be ugly in College Park on Saturday, and you just hope that Maryland keeps it competitive, but I don't really have much hope. And Indiana's looking to stay undefeated because they're looking now at positioning in the playoff, not just being in the playoff, but positioning. And it's more than likely that they're going to meet Ohio State for the Big Ten championship. Even if they lose that and they're still undefeated regular season, they're going to be in the playoff as they were last year. This was yesterday on the Rich Eisen show, which I think we carried here on ESPN 630. I'm not even sure, but it's on 12 to 3. And Eisen had on Paul Feinbaum, kind of the guru of college football. And with all the firings that have taken place, there's $169 million worth of buyout money being paid out, including the money that'll go to Brian Kelly, which is reported to be $54 million. And the crazy stuff, rumor mill starts, and you go, well, if we're going to look for a replacement, why not swing for the fences? Why not go after Nick Saban? Oh, yeah, Nick Saban, sure. You can't lure him with money. He already made $1 gazillion, and not just coaching at Alabama. He owns car dealerships. He's got a nice little gig on Saturdays with Game Day on ESPN. He's not going to take that job. As Paul Feinbaum says here, maybe channeling Lee Corso, not so fast, my friend.
It's actually a very legitimate question for this reason. Nick Saban was the coach at LSU. He won the national championship there in 2003. And Saban left in 2005 to go to the Dolphins. Wayne Huizenga offered him this deal. And in many ways, he always regretted it. While Alabama was where he made his mark, it was only 6 national championships. Yes. There was this gravitational pull about Baton Rouge. His family loved it. And it probably is the only place that could get a conversation with Nick Saban. So let's go ahead and finish this. What would it take to get Nick Saban to leave the Game Day set, sitting next to McAfee every Saturday, to go to LSU? It would take more than he made at Alabama, which was about $10 or $11 million. But if they came up with a package, Rich, I think you could literally fill in the number Do I think Saban would think about it for a minute? Yes, I do. There's a lot of risk involved. His name is on the field at Alabama. He's already the greatest coach in college football history, and he did that at a school that previously had the greatest coach in college football history in Bear Bryant. But he's also a competitor. How many times have you seen this in the NFL where some guy, we just saw it in college where Bill Belichick came back. Other coaches have come back out of retirement. Bud Wilkinson in the 70s, I think, was the great Oklahoma coach. He went to coach for the St. Louis Cardinals. It ended badly, as most of these comebacks do. Bill Walsh came back. I think Nick Saban, for an unbelievable amount of money, where he said, I just can't turn that down, could possibly at least engage in a conversation. And can I ask you to guess the trivia question of the day? Who do you think is Nick Saban's agent? The answer is Jimmy Sexton.
All right. Lots of connective tissue. I know about the Saban regretting LSU, and I read about it, I hear about it, I see the posts about it. I look at that and I'm like, he regrets leaving LSU, but I think he regrets that he left him for the Dolphins. He regrets going to the Dolphins maybe more than leaving LSU, where, there was a choice between Dante Culpepper and Breeze, and he chose the Culpepper door. You know what I mean? Like, that's the regret if I had to choose any of them.
Yeah, and Saban's always blamed that on the sports medicine people who claim that Breeze wasn't going to qualify. But those stories don't matter anymore. But
right.
I don't think Nick Saban would take it. Nick Saban wouldn't talk to Penn State. He wouldn't talk to Florida. But I think he would talk to LSU, at least to see what they have to offer. And by the way, sometimes you can come back and make an offer that even a man who will be 74 years old on Friday night on Halloween might consider. I think it's worth thinking about, and I'm already hearing on our show down here in the South, Alabama fans saying, "Please tell me it's not true. Don't tell me that Nick Saban's going to LSU."
Yeah, what a nightmare that would be for Bama fans, and I don't think he would take it, but that competitive itch, man, and somebody's laying out millions and millions of dollars just to scratch it at a place that you can win and have won before. It's interesting to think about. It's fodder. Meantime, on these buyouts, how do they happen? And it ties into what Feinbaum said. Jimmy Sexton, he's kind of like the Scott Boras of college football coaches. And so, as he explains here, what kind of happens is these athletic directors who are not really in the business of negotiating these kind of contracts are going up against the best. It's like, hey, Michael Jordan wants to play a one-on-one. Well, I played basketball before. Well, yeah, but it's a mismatch. And this is how he explains why these insane buyouts actually happen in college football.
You have athletic directors who are good stewards of their program. They go to the volleyball games, they go to the basketball games, but they're no match for a guy who is employed by CAA, one of the biggest talent agencies in the world, and who's basically saying, if you don't sign my guy to this deal, I'm taking him somewhere else. And that AD who looks down at his phone every 5 seconds to make sure what people are saying about him on social media says, okay, I can get that done. Just like a week ago, Rich, in the Big Ten, you saw Curt Cignetti get this $94 million deal. Now, most reasonable people think, okay, he's done an amazing job, but 3 or 4 years from now, just for the sake of argument, if things don't go well at Indiana, they're going to have to buy him out. But at the moment that these coaches get the deals, everybody is in favor of it. So they agree to ridiculous buyouts. And then where you get the buyouts to even go up higher is when you get the extension, when your guy may be going to Penn State or in this case LSU, and the agent, who is always Jimmy Sexton, walks in.
Yeah, and Jimmy Sexton knows what he's doing. The thing about Cignetti, that it's not so much the guaranteed money, the $93 million or whatever it is. It's what he can buy himself out of. It's a $15 million buyout if he wants to go someplace else. If he wants to go to Penn State and he's from Western Pennsylvania, Penn State strokes that check, $15 million. You're out of your deal at Indiana, and come on down. We'll pay you more money. It's just insane how much money there is, and all that crying that they did. Oh, there's no money. We can't pay the players. Well, geez, what they're going to give the coaches. It's insane. It's insanity. And it's insanity in the moment, because when the coach starts to fail, like Brian Kelly, oh, God, what are we going to do? $54 million buyout. Well, I guess we've got to pay it. Got to get him out of here. It's a mess. Got to go. Let me switch to the NBA real quick. This was Reggie Miller yesterday, analyst now at TNT, comes on the Dan Patrick Show time to time, talking about Victor Wembanyama. Now, let me just give you the numbers that Wembanyama has through 4 games this year. He's already established himself as one of the great players in the league, but his season was cut short last year. He only played half the year because of I think it was a heartbeat issue, and that's apparently been resolved. And he's come back with numbers. It's only 4 games. I understand that, but these are almost Wilt Chamberlain numbers. Keep in mind, Wilt played the whole game. Wilt would average some years over 48 minutes a game, meaning he played every minute of every regulation game and every minute of every overtime game. Wembanyama is averaging 32 minutes a game. So 16 minutes he's sitting out. He's averaged in the 4 games 31 points. He has averaged 14 rebounds. More importantly, he's averaged 4.8 blocks. You get 2 blocks a game, that's a lot. He's averaging close to 5. He is shooting 60% from the field. And, oh, yes, you know he can shoot threes. But last time we saw him on the court last year, he was averaging close to 9 threes a game. He's shooting less than 3 a game. He is evolving into that guy that we looked at 7'5" and can move and shoots the 3. We've never seen anything like this before. And at the age of 21, he seems to be on his way to being, if he's not already, the best player in the league. This was Reggie with his thoughts on Wembanyama yesterday.
Oh, he's changing the game, right? He is. Every time you turn into a Spurs game, you're going to see something new. So last night it was the 360 layup, right? He will do one thing when you leave that arena or watching that game going, I got to see more.
He took a logo 3. He took a logo 3. And he's got good form.
He's got great form. And I think just looking at him, it looks like he's put on not a lot of weight, but he looks like he's a little bit more, I don't know, more comfortable in his skin. He put on like maybe 10 pounds or something, but he's much more comfortable out there on the floor. And for them to be undefeated at this point, I know it's early. It's only a week into the season. Look, they're not winning the championship, but I like how they are playing as a young team.
And you're seeing him. He should have been Defensive Player of the Year. He didn't play enough games to qualify. He's only 21. He can guard the perimeter from the paint. He's averaging 6 blocks. Now he can shoot the 3. He's got a handle. They're putting him in different positions on the block where he can succeed. And I said this. I got Luka as the MVP this year, but after that, I've got Victor. I'm going to take Victor the next 5 years after that.
Well, look, for Luka and for Victor to win, obviously team success is going to play a counterpoint. So if the Spurs continue to play like this, I say the Spurs end in a top 4 in a loaded Western Conference. Yes, he'll win. The same with Luka. Luka and the Lakers, they've got to finish in the top 4. To me, I think Jokic won it a few years ago, and Denver was, I believe, 6 in the Eastern or in the Western Conference.
Yeah.
So there is precedence for that, but I think if either one of those teams, the Lakers or the Spurs, finish in the top 4 in the very heavy loaded Western Conference, one of them will win MVP.
If I said you can have Luka or you can have Victor?
Victor.
Okay. Is there any player you would take over Victor Wembanyama for, let's say, the next 5 years?
Well, he's only 21. But to me, SGA cannot go wrong. Look, opening night, watching him, and then obviously watching him last year in the finals and that playoff run, and watching it up close and personal as a fan. I mean, this dude has it all. I mean, when the game is on the line, he knows how to create his own shot. He knows how to create for others. And again, I look at the other end as well. I think that's what made Michael so great. Not only was he giving you 40 in the playoffs, but he was shutting me down in the playoffs as well.
He didn't shut you down.
But that, to me, that's what SGA, he plays at both ends of the floor. So to me, I wouldn't trade either one of those players right now.
If I said you could have SGA or Luka.
Oh, my God. Oh, I would take SGA.
Really?
Yeah, I'm taking SGA.
You're in love.
Because you got to play the other end of the court. Luka's getting there. I mean, he's getting there.
Yeah.
Luka, now I will say this. To me, Luka's a better scorer than Wemby and SGA. But there's two sides to the ball. You know that.
All right.
There's two sides.
Yeah, and for all the conspiracists out there, that's Reggie Miller on the Dan Patrick Show, realize where these players are, these superstar players. Small markets, right? SGA, Oklahoma City, Wembanyama, San Antonio. If they were fixing it like the league has been accused of for 40 years with the frozen envelope for Patrick Ewing, why would they fix it for those teams? Wouldn't you want the Knicks to have that guy, the Lakers, the Celtics? And the Celtics are still a great team, but they're not in the lottery, of course, but things can be engineered. And there are plenty of big market teams which are in the lottery, and they don't wind up with these players. So just throwing that out there. All right, that's enough for me. Bram is coming up next, and I will see you back here tomorrow morning at 9 a.m.